Earl Whitaker is 73 and lives on Social Security in the same small house his father left him, paid off decades ago. His father called himself a poor man and said it with pride, because a poor man who owned everything free and clear feared nothing. Last winter, Earl started copying the exact habits his father lived by, and within 2 months, he was quietly setting aside $500 he used to hand away. His neighbors think he's just lucky with money. He isn't. He simply went back to the old way. The one habit his father trusted above all the rest is number 1 on this list. A poor man's habits were never about being poor. They were the plainest, most powerful money moves ever made, forged by people who could not afford a single wasted dollar. We dropped them the moment they felt beneath us and started leaking money without noticing. Earl's father's habits run through everything that follows. Number 14 is money nearly a third of all households throw straight in the trash. Number 8 quietly frees up a car payment's worth every month. And number 1 is the habit that made all the other $500 possible. These 20 habits aren't about scraping by. They're about quietly getting ahead. Hit that subscribe button. Let's count them down. Number 20. Cook everything at home. The poor man never paid another man to cook for him. You make your own meals from raw ingredients every day, because the restaurant and the drive-thru carry the steepest markup there is. The average American spends around $190 a month just dining out, and cooking at home reclaims most of it with better food besides. Even 2 dinners out a week quietly runs past $160 a month. Earl learned to make the handful of dishes he loves and stopped eating out entirely. His father packed a lunch pail to the plant for 30 years and never once bought a meal. Not a downgrade in how you eat. The single largest food saving there is sitting on your own stove. Number 19. Plan the week before you spend a dime. The poor man knew exactly what he was buying before he left the house. You sit down once a week, plan 7 suppers around what's already in the kitchen, and write the list from the plan. Nothing extra comes home, and nothing already home spoils forgotten in the back. A planned week wastes nothing, and a wasted ingredient on a fixed income is a meal lost. Earl plans his meals in pencil on a pad by the phone. His father's grocery list was fixed before he ever walked out the door. Not a rigid rule. The difference between commanding your money and letting the store take it. Number 18. Build meals on the cheap staples. The poor man's plate stood on the foods that cost almost nothing. A pound of dried beans costs under $2 and stretches across a whole week of suppers. Oats, rice, potatoes, and eggs fill out a week for a few dollars more, and you build every meal on these and add small amounts of everything else. Earl eats a bean or egg supper most nights and never tires of it, seasoning it a different way each time. His father fed a family on these staples through years far leaner than these. Not poverty food, the cheapest, most filling nutrition the store sells, multiplied across a month. Number 17. Cut the cable down to nothing. The poor man refused to rent what he didn't use. The cable bundle is the biggest single overcharge most seniors carry, and the average subscriber now pays somewhere between $80 and $200 a month for it. You break the bundle, keep internet only, use a one-time antenna for local news, and pick one cheap streaming service if you want it. That routinely drops a $200 bill toward $60. Earl kept his shows and cut the cost by more than half. His father owned his radio outright, and it played free for decades. Not doing without. Refusing to rent a package built to overcharge you. Number 16. Hunt down every dead subscription. The poor man knew where every dollar of his went. You pull a bank statement, go line by line, circle every recurring charge, and cancel anything you haven't used in a month. One forgotten service at $15 a month is $180 a year. Gone. Earl found 2 services still charging him that he'd forgotten he ever signed up for. The companies count on that silence. His father balanced every account by hand at the kitchen table. Not a hard afternoon. 1 statement, 1 pen, and the forgotten drains close for good. Number 15. Repair it before you ever replace it. The poor man fixed what broke because buying new was the last resort. You keep a small kit, needle and thread, glue, a screwdriver, a few cheap parts, and mend what breaks. A single service call runs $40 to $100 for what 10 quiet minutes would fix. Earl keeps a coffee can of salvaged screws in the closet and fixes what he can before he shops. His father resoled his own boots until the leather finally gave out. Not stubbornness, a 10-minute fix standing between him and a rising replacement price.
Before we go on, I made something special for you. Guides for people like us who still believe the old ways mattered. They're the forgotten money habits our grandparents lived by, tricks that could save you thousands a year. But this knowledge is disappearing, and once it's gone for good. I've put together 2 books for you plus a free bonus. Imagine how much you could save over the next year by starting today. Scan the QR code on screen now or click the link below. I'll wait.
Number 14. Waste nothing edible. The poor man treated a wasted scrap as a wasted dollar because it was. You use the whole chicken, roast it, pick it, then simmer the bones into stock for a soup 2 days on. Nearly a third of the food bought in this country is thrown away before it is ever eaten, which is over $100 a month on a typical grocery bill. Earl throws away almost nothing now, the way his father's hands never could. The vegetable ends and the stale bread each get a second life he plans in advance, not thrift for its own sake. The plain refusal to buy the same meal twice. Now stop and add it up, because this is where $500 stops being a headline and becomes plain arithmetic. Cooking at home instead of dining out reclaims $100 or more on its own. Cutting the cable down adds another $100. Killing the food waste is worth $80 to $100. The subscription audit frees $20 to $40. Dropping to 1 car, for those who can, saves the biggest single chunk of all, since transportation runs over $1,000 a month on average. Doing your own grooming saves another $100. Stack even most of those, and $500 a month is not a stretch, it's a floor. And here is the urgency underneath it. This year's cost of living raise was about $56 a month, and the Medicare Part B premium climbed to $202.90, swallowing nearly a third of that raise before it landed. Senior poverty is at 15%, the highest of any age group. The habits that felt old-fashioned are now the difference between sinking and staying afloat. Number 13. Drink water and coffee from home. The poor man never paid a premium for what came free from the tap. A case of bottled water runs $4 or $5 for what the faucet gives for nothing, and a daily cup out is over $700 a year for what pennies of grounds make at home. You keep 1 filter pitcher and 1 thermos, and both pay for themselves in weeks. Earl carried the last case of plastic bottles down to recycling and set a glass pitcher in the icebox. His father filled a thermos every dawn and carried it to work. Not going without, refusing to pay twice for what home already gives. Number 12. Buy it used and buy it once. The poor man bought the sound-used item over the shiny new one, and when he bought quality that lasted. A new sofa runs $800, against $40 for a solid used one that outlasts it. Furniture from estate sales, tools from another man's shed. a used car paid for in cash, bought for a fraction and just as good. Earl furnished half his house from second-hand finds for the cost of one new chair. His father drove one careful used car a decade and never made a payment, not settling for less, refusing to pay again and again for the same thing. Number 11. Make it yourself instead of buying it made. The poor man's kitchen was a small factory. A loaf baked at home costs pennies of flour against $3 or $4 on the shelf. Cleaners came from vinegar and baking soda instead of a dozen branded bottles, and broth from bones he'd have thrown away. Earl bakes his own bread now, and the smell of it fills the house the way his mother's kitchen once did. His father built and mended nearly everything the family owned. Not busy work, turning cheap raw materials into what the store marks up and sells back to you. Number 10. Line dry the wash and cut the hungry machines. The poor man never ran a machine he didn't need. An electric dryer alone can run $70 to $115 a year to operate. You hang the wash on a rack or a line, swap old bulbs for LED bulbs that use 75% less power, and wash in cold water. Earl set a drying rack by the back window, and his sheets come in smelling of outside air. His father read by one lamp and shut off every other light in the house. Not a hardship, a steady monthly charge he simply stopped paying. Number 9. Do your own grooming and small care. The poor man cut his own hair at the kitchen table. A $50 haircut every 3 weeks is over $800 a year at the chair, and doing it at home saves $100 a month or more for many retirees. You buy clippers once, learn a simple cut from a video, and handle the small salon extras the same way. Earl cuts his own hair now and hasn't sat in a barber's chair in a year. His father cut every head in the house on the back porch each Sunday, clippers he'd owned for a decade. Not a sacrifice anyone notices. Money that simply stops leaving the house. Number 8. Drop the second car or the car entirely. This is the poor man's biggest single lever, and selling one car can free $400 to $600 a month once every cost is counted. Transportation averages over $1,000 a month across payment, insurance, gas, and upkeep, and a retired person rarely needs 2 vehicles, sometimes not even one. You sell the spare and lean on one car, public transit, and batched trips. Even a paid-off car bleeds money in insurance and maintenance while it sits. Earl sold his late wife's car and pocketed the insurance and upkeep every month after. His father made one vehicle serve the whole family for 20 years. Not isolating yourself, cutting the second deepest hole in the budget. Now go back to the man at the center of all this, because Earl's father is the whole reason these habits worked. He was a millwright who never earned much and never once acted poor. He owned his house free and clear, owed no bank a dollar, kept a full pantry and a coffee can of cash on the shelf, and fixed, made, or did without nearly everything. When the plant went to short hours the winter Earl was 12, other families on the street bought furniture on the new installment plans and quietly went under. His father did none of it, and the family ate 3 meals a day all winter and never borrowed a dime. Last year, when Earl's own raise vanished into the Medicare premium and the grocery bill, he sat at that same kitchen table feeling the numbers close in. So he did what his father would have done. He stopped spending like a man who could afford it and started living like the proud, poor man who raised him. Everything on this list came out of that one turn. Number 7. Pay cash and carry no debt. The poor man's deepest fear was owing money he couldn't pay. You pay cash, or you wait until you can, because on a fixed income, a balance never shrinks. it only grows. A $4,000 balance at 30% quietly costs $1,200 a year in interest alone, all of it drained for nothing. Earl has watched neighbors sink under a balance that started small, and he will eat beans 4 nights running before he owes a cent. His father refused the installment plan on sight, having seen where it led. Not rigid pride. The clear understanding that debt is a chain a fixed income can't break. Number 6. Know the true cost of everything. The poor man carried every price in his head and could not be fooled. You keep a small notebook of the regular cost of what you buy most and the true amount of every bill you pay. A price that creeps up $2 at a time is the one that drains you without ever being noticed. Earl checks his list against the tags and the statements both, and he spotted 2 increases this year before they took hold. His father knew every price in town to the penny, not obsessive. The one habit that makes every hidden rise and marketing trick visible. Number 5. Claim every dollar of help you're owed. The poor man of the 30s had little help to claim. Earl does, and refusing it out of pride would be its own mistake. You apply for everything at once: SNAP, the free senior food box; LIHEAP for the heat, the property tax break, and a Medicare savings program. The average eligible senior leaves thousands of dollars a year sitting in programs never claimed, and the programs stack once you're in. Earl spent one afternoon at the senior center applying for all of it together. His father would have called leaving that help unclaimed plain foolishness, not a handout. Money already set aside, waiting on a form. Number 4. Wait before you buy. The poor man weighed every purchase before making it. Before you spend on anything that isn't food, rent, or medicine, you wait 2 days. If you still want it after 48 hours, you buy it. If you forgot, you just kept the money. And a single impulse avoided each week is hundreds of dollars a year that never leaves the account. Earl has held this rule since the week he changed his ways, and he says most of what he almost bought he can no longer remember. His father, shaped by hard years, never once spent in a hurry. Not willpower, time, quietly doing the deciding for him. Number 3. Want less than the world is selling you. Beneath every habit sits the hardest and most freeing one, wanting less than you're able to buy. The poor man found contentment in what he had, and a person who cannot be sold anything is a person no price hike can ever fully reach. Earl stopped measuring himself against the ads, and the wanting quieted on its own. His father decided long ago what enough was, and then he stopped, calmer about money in lean years than most people are in fat ones, not going without. The rare freedom of not being for sale. Number 2. Do it yourself, whatever it is. The poor man never paid for what his own 2 hands could manage. The lawn, the leaky faucet, the fresh coat of paint, the patched screen, he handled all of it. And he taught his children too. A plumber, a painter, and a lawn service across 1 year is well over $1,000 saved by the man who does it himself. Earl mows his own yard, fixes his own taps, and paints his own porch, saving a service call each time. His father built a workbench where broken things went to be reborn instead of replaced, not a chore to resent. 100 small bills that simply never arrive. Number 1. Live below your means, spend less than comes in. Here is the habit Earl's father trusted above all the others, and it is the sum of every one on this list. No system, no trick, just the plain, unbending discipline of spending less than arrives and living 1 notch below what you could afford. Every other habit here, the home cooking, the mended clothes, the cash-only rule, The wants that didn't survive the wait exists only to widen the gap between what comes in and what goes out. That gap is the whole game. Earl's father lived his entire life a step below his income, and it bought him a paid-off house, a full pantry, a coffee can of cash, and a life that feared no layoff and no price hike. When Earl finally copied him, the $500 a month appeared almost on its own because it had been leaking out the whole time through habits his father never had. The poor man was never poor. He was the freest man on the street. Spend less than comes in. Everything else is just a way of making that possible. None of this required a bigger check, a financial advisor, or a single dollar Earl didn't already hold. It required attention, the willingness to look at money plainly, without shame and without fantasy, and to live one deliberate step below what the world says you should. The men and women who called themselves poor understood something this country keeps trying to forget. Comfort is not the same as security. Convenience is not the same as freedom. The ability to buy anything the moment you want it is worthless beside the quiet strength of needing almost nothing. Earl Whitaker is 73, and while prices climb around him, he sets aside $500 a month he used to hand away, not because his income grew, but because he went back to the old way. His father called himself a poor man and owned his whole life free and clear, and everything Earl needed to get ahead in 2026. That man taught him at a kitchen table 60 years ago. He was never the poor one. He was the one who understood what the rest of us forgot, that the man who needs the least is the hardest man in the world to break.